On Juneteenth, we're commemorating the day Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas to officially announce the freedom of enslaved people 2 months after the Civil War ended. But many stories of Black Civil War soldiers are still untold.
WLWT News 5's Kelly Rippin sharing the story of the 5th United States Colored Cavalry and one small Kentucky town's mission to share their story, find the lost soldiers, and return them to a final resting place with their fellow comrades.
On a farm in Simpsonville, Kentucky, Jake Bryan starts each morning the same way his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather before him. But the history of the Bryan family farm dates back more than 200 years.
What I've understood, at least since 1814.
And the history much deeper than the crops Jake now grows on the family land. The Bryan property sits along US 60. Which in 1865 was the Midland Trail. In January of that year, as the Civil War was coming to an end, a group of Black soldiers with the 5th United States Colored Cavalry out of Camp Nelson were herding cattle to Louisville when they were attacked by Confederate guerrillas. At least 22 were killed, many more injured, but their stories were never told. That was until...
In 2007 is when I read the diary.
Kentucky historian Jerry Miller was reading a Civil War-era diary when an entry jumped off the page.
About 40 Negro troops were murdered by guerrillas. God help us.
A reference to one of the bloodiest tragedies near Simpsonville that he never heard of before.
Cincinnati Daily Gazette, which I'm looking at right now, picked it up on January 28th. And their headline was "Horrible Massacre by Guerrillas."
It became Miller's mission to name these men, honor them, and maybe, just maybe, find where they were buried 160 years ago.
It's really been thrilling to make little breakthroughs.
Over the years, and with lots of help, they identified the soldiers and put up a roadside memorial. They were making progress, but coming up short of their ultimate goal. When finally...
there was a breakthrough and they found it.
A 1936 map of US 60.
It's like, wow.
Only on that version of the map, a notation, Civil War grave mound, on the Bryan family farm, confirming decades of oral history passed down through the family.
They would just get together, they would just talk. I would just hear them talk because I was just a kid. And I wished I'd have paid a lot more attention.
But he was paying attention now.
I'd always heard about everything. Now is a chance to maybe that we can come up with an answer.
Yeah, there is a mound there.
Joining Jerry and Jake on this journey to find the lost soldiers, University of Kentucky archaeologist Dr. Philip Mink.
But the only way to truly know as an archaeologist is to actually move dirt.
Dr. Mink and his team will dig until there is any sign they've found the right spot. Then a proper excavation will be planned.
We're trying to tell the story, trying to find these young men, trying to bring them back and give them some dignity and burial with the honors they deserve.
But after 160 years, the search for soldiers must wait a little longer until Jake can harvest his soybeans. The excavator is ready, and as soon as he makes the call, we'll be there. Kelly Rippin, WLWT News 5.
Kelly, thank you. We tell these stories, constant reminders of how we got where we are right now. You drive across the bridge from Kentucky, you see Cincinnati founded in 1788. 250 years of history, and a lot of people take for granted what got us here.
And hard to believe they still haven't had a proper burial. And by the way, celebrations of Juneteenth continued today.